Oh, hey, what's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the mother-loving geek nation? You're currently tuning into the Daywalking Cult Pop Podcast, episode 41, a show where we talk about comics and movies and TV shows and my personal Lord and Savior, La Magra.
I didn't know that.
And all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. We're coming to you live,
Oh, yeah.
live from Yunk Junk HQ, a bomb-ass podcasting space in Manayunk, PA. I'm your undead host, Johnny Destructo, of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street. It's a comic shop. Come buy my shit. That's the end of that bit.
Do you sell comics, too?
Oh, yeah, that too.
That's
yeah. With me tonight are...
Hi.
Not yet!
I can say hi.
With Brian.
Hello.
There it is. All right. And possibly joining us, Terry Leahy. Him being of Yunk Junk HQ.
Yeah.
He might join. He might pop in. He looks so creepy.
He's here.
Terry needs some lighting. Also, in the booth is our Trepid. What's Trepid mean? I've never known what Trepid means.
I guess it means you are worried, like trepidatious, like you are worried about things.
Our Trepid producer.
Yeah.
Intrepid.
Intrepid
What's Intrepid mean?
Not that.
Our intrepid producer, Dylan the Great. Remember, if anything goes wrong, Dylan did it. Bravo. Before we get into tonight's discussions, we'd like to thank you all for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. We're not actually going to YouTube or to Facebook Live.
Not this time, but we do have a link
Dylan
to
did
it.
But yeah, we're on that's YouTube. It's fine.
Smash that subscribe button.
No, just end it there. Just smash that.
Smash that, you guys.
That. Additionally, we want you to email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com, just like Noel did.
Noel emailed it.
Intrepid co-host Noel
wow.
emailed us.
What do you have to say?
I'll tell you what.
Isn't it about Blade?
It's probably about the movie we're going to talk about tonight, Blade.
Hey, I have an idea.
Hey,
Let's read that when we talk about Blade.
Oh, okay, we can do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just throw my whole shit off course. That's
no
fine.
problem.
We have segments, Brian.
Yeah, and I'm
You've
bringing
ruined
it back.
the segments.
Do you want to talk about other letters? What's your favorite letter? Doesn't have to be English.
tough.
You could say like phi or something if you want.
D.
That's a good one.
Yeah, nice.
Interesting.
It's
Interesting
a good one.
choice.
My son says D a lot.
Does he?
Yeah, I think he can't say dad, so he just
It's
says
like, what up, D?
D. What up, D? What up, my D? Is he joining us yet? What's he doing? Nope. Okay.
I can't hear him.
He can't hear you, Terry. Okay. So,
Yeah, what's up?
since we're talking about segments,
Yeah, what about him?
let's
What's our
go to
next
the
one?
other segment that you may or may not ruin. What
Huh.
you been up to this week? Huh.
Huh.
That's the segment where we talk about what we've been up to this week. So, Brian, why don't you
Yeah,
start us off with
I will. Yeah.
what you've been up to this week? Huh.
Here we go. Here it comes.
I'm ready. I'm
what I have
prepared.
been up to this week.
Uh-huh.
So I watched with tomorrow. We watched what was it called? The Haunting of Hill
Haunting of
House.
Hill House.
The Haunting of Hill
Directed
House.
by Mike Flanagan.
Okay. Yeah. Who I kept thinking of the song Michael Finnegan. You know that song?
I don't know it.
Poor old Michael Finnegan.
Sing
Begin
us a couple
again.
bars.
The only part I remember is it's one of those like looping songs.
Uh-huh.
Poor old Michael Finnegan, begin again, and
Oh.
then you begin the song again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Reminds me of what's that? Calling Mr. Bob Bobalina.
I don't know that one.
Bobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina.
I like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I know
Tell us-
George Washington Bridge.
Just
Anyway,
tell us about the Haunting of Hill House.
here we go. So it's not the kind of show that I would normally choose to watch.
Right?
Right.
I'm surprised. Just my surprise face.
That's very surprised.
Huh.
Oh, even more surprised when you open your mouth a little bit like that. Oh yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
How wide can you open your mouth? How surprised can you get?
We'll keep talking. We'll find out.
Here we go. So, Tamara said, like, let's watch this. And I was like, I don't want to watch that. And,
Uh-huh.
God, that's surprised. So, but here's the thing. I have a curious and vaguely undefined relationship with things that are considered horror,
Oh,
right?
okay, sure.
Where there's some of it that I don't like and really don't like. It's not just that I don't enjoy it, like, I don't like having watched it. You know
feel
what
like
I mean?
you wouldn't like Saw.
No,
Right.
not,
Any of
Really
the
doubt
what
it.
we call gore porn,
gore porn.
where it's just as visceral
No,
and
thank
violent
you.
as we can make it for hostile.
No,
Yeah.
I don't, not
You
at
don't
all.
even know what that is.
I do know.
Oh, do you know hostile?
I do know.
Okay.
Well, I worked at a movie theater, remember,
Oh, that's
so
true.
I'm
Yeah,
aware
yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah.
But especially if it's humans only. You know,
You'd
I don't
rather
like to see
see
that.
dogs murdered. You're like really
Interesting.
into pet anything
That's
PETA
only
likes.
considered-
You're like no.
Yes, anything,
Anything.
even lunch.
On me, I
Yeah.
hate it if PETA loves it.
Yeah, I'm out. They send me a list of what they like, so I can hate it.
Yeah.
No, like it. Like ghost stuff. Like
Oh, you don't like ghost stuff?
No, I'm fine. I'm cool
Oh,
with
that's
ghost
the good stuff.
Yeah. Depending on the ghost.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
of course. So we were watching it, and I didn't find it to be. It's spooky. You know what I mean?
It's spooky.
Not so much scary as much as
Sure.
spooky. You know
It's
what
a lot of vibes. It's a lot of atmosphere.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And there's, other world stuff going on and
Mhm.
whatever, which, honestly, if you found out that there were ghosts, could be a very comforting thing.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, something of us continues.
If I may.
You may.
I used to live in a house
Mhm.
that it had a entrance to the Underground Railroad in
Oh.
the basement.
Fascinating.
And we shared, we have an apartment. And then if you walk into our closet,
Mhm.
you could then make a right and just go into our neighbor's kitchen, which belonged to
Oh.
my best friend.
Okay.
So we kind of like, if we wanted to, we could just have an open 2 apartments.
That's cool.
And my best friend Tink, she had seen things, folks
Hmm.
that weren't supposed to be there,
Hmm.
and but Phil had good vibes about it.
Sure.
So it was just like she loved that there were
Yeah.
good vibe and ghosts there.
That's awesome.
Meanwhile, I was like, that sounds horrible. And she was like, no, they're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
Positive.
We're
Right.
sharing the space together and everything's lovely. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a thing that could happen. Right.
Sure.
Right, I guess so. So
Yeah.
I thought that was the first time I ever even thought of like, oh, ghosts could be chill.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I liked the fact that some of them turned out to be chill
Mhm.
by the end of Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a little spoilers
Little spoilers.
if somebody doesn't.
Like
but nothing
little,
too bad.
because I love that show and I don't want to be too spoiled.
No. There's time stuff that happens,
Oh, there is, yeah.
and I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
JD, I think you well know that I like stuff
I
involving time.
also like time stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love time stuff.
Timey-wimey,
Right?
wibbly wobbly bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing was always that thing, kind of
Yeah.
whatever, or
Mhm.
we're here and we're then, and oh, I love that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's good.
Not something you often get in ghost stories, right? So that was pretty cool. I thought their spooky stuff was very artistically done and spooky. The really
Yeah.
tall guy.
Oh, he was
Excellent.
he gave me chills.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And
Anybody over 6 foot, chills.
chills.
Yeah.
Manute Bol.
Oh my god.
Oh, you just even today.
Yeah.
Never seen the man in your life. He's-
yeah. Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed by the end
Okay.
that we didn't get more about what the whole deal with the house was,
Yeah.
like what kicked it off,
Sure.
what caused it. We get one sort of expository line of dialogue, really, is it. And it's never like, well, this is why this is, or these were the
Yeah.
original things that happened.
I like that though.
You like that?
I like a little bit of
Okay.
mystery, yeah.
It was interesting that there were like multiple waves of ghosts were in the
Mhm.
house, and that's very cool.
Mhm.
And maybe there is no reason that it's
Yeah.
that house in particular or whatever. I thought a lot of the people were really good. I mean, nobody wasn't good. Both of us were surprised at how closely the younger actors and the older actors
Yeah.
match each other
Yeah.
in terms of like I could see that person
Growing up
into that person.
Yeah.
So much so that the dad, for a while, I thought was the same actor, that they had just
Oh, neat.
aged up.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he is not. And one of the kid ones was in Star Trek Picard.
Oh, okay.
She was the daughter of Troy and Riker in the first season. You saw the first season.
I did.
Well, she was the daughter of Troy and Riker.
I remember her clearly.
Yes. She had blonde hair, though.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
hmm That's what I was thinking.
That she had blonde hair.
Blonde, yeah.
But in this, she has brown hair.
Yeah.
So she looks very different.
I love that show. That is
Mhm.
probably my all-time favorite haunted house
Is that right?
story
Interesting.
series. Yeah, man, I love that. That's my
very
favorite
cool.
of Mike Flanagan's projects. I'm a
Okay.
fan of Mike Flanagan himself.
Oh.
Another really good movie that he had done with his wife, who is in Hill House, in his I think
Who's his wife?
all of his projects. I don't remember her name.
Which one is she?
One of the siblings.
One of the adult siblings.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she was in a movie called Hush about a deaf woman who is a writer,
Hmm.
and there's a home invasion happening.
Oh, I
That's
see.
a really good one.
Hmm.
And then what was the other one? There was another one that I was going to recommend to you, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, so would you overall recommend?
I would overall recommend it. Yeah, I wouldn't say you should watch this even if you don't like horror stuff,
Mhm.
because depending on what people don't like about horror, this might not be up their alley at all. But it's very well done. The guy that plays Luke, the youngest son, one of the twins, I thought he was especially good. I just really liked him. And the one that plays his kid self is one of the Maximoff twins in WandaVision.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remembered what I wanted to recommend to you.
What was that?
A movie called Triangle.
What's it about?
It is about the Bermuda Triangle,
Mm.
and it's starring Melissa George, who you may remember. Did you ever watch Alias?
No, I never watched Alias.
Oh, great show. But
That's what I hear.
Melissa George is in it, and if you like timey-wimey horror stuff,
Oh.
that's the one. Also, Time Crimes
Time
is
Crimes.
another really good one. So Time Crimes and Triangle.
Do they
Excellent.
do times throughout crimes throughout times? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe.
do you remember that show
Oh,
Time
her name-
Tracks?
Her name is Kate Siegel,
Oh, I don't know.
the wife of Mike Flanagan.
Who was she in the show? I thought that's what you were looking up.
Theodora Crane.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
She's the middle sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
You bet.
And although I gotta tell you, in that show, it's one of those shows where at first everyone's like, what the hell's going on? And then you kind of find out that some people, there's some other psychic supernatural stuff in these people's lives.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, why do those people not get the hell out of here?
Right?
Like, they know that this stuff happens, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, do you remember the show Time Tracks from the
No.
late 80s, early 90s?
Whoops. No, I don't. I've never heard of it.
Oh, it was I only ever saw it in syndication. It was about a cop from the future who comes back and he's got to send a bunch of criminals who escaped into the past back to the future,
Ah.
you know, because they've, they're escaping whatever kind of punishment.
Justice.
Oh,
Yeah.
The justice system.
Yeah.
And he's got like, a couple of future-y things that he can do, but he can't go back until they're all sent back.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he can only do it once, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I hear
Yes.
from you just now.
That is what you heard.
Robert Monroe Jr. is in the chat saying, "What's up, Cult Poppers?" Jeremy Stucane says, "Agreed. Horror and especially wild gore, not my jam.
No.
But Hill House was so rad."
It was rad.
Robert Monroe Jr. continues, "I lived in a house in New York near the Canadian border that was used as part of the Underground Railroad, and Native Americans had also lived on the land. The house was very haunted."
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So, thanks for chat. That's that. Oh wait, haunted good though, Robert Monroe Jr.
Yeah.
We were talking about chill ghosts. Were the ghosts
Yeah.
chill
And
or were they douches?
I would like to mention that there are times where the ghost might be chill and we're just not aware and
That's
we're
true.
like, oh, it's a ghost and I'm scared of it,
Mhm.
when it doesn't mean any ill will. It's just trying to do whatever it does in a chill way.
That's why I got to be. Oh, he's being spooky. Ooh, our podcast is haunted.
Kind of like a
Oh, that would be
Frankenstein.
such a good
Yes.
name for a horror podcast.
What's that?
Our podcast is haunted.
Oh, that would be good.
Bit
So
of a
good
lot.
that,
What, just
that might already...
a Zoom caller keeps jumping in and saying, "Ooh."
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, I'm just a Zoom caller. You're not haunted.
that is spooky. Can they see you?
"Hi, boys.
Hi.
Hello, Terry.
Yeah.
Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see you."
Oh, dope. All right.
Excellent.
Hi, Terry.
So we all exist.
Well, we were about. What have you been up to this week, Terror Bear?
Well, Dylan and I obviously have been working on the old studio. Yeah, that's a little better for you.
Young
And,
Jump HQ, you mean?
If you notice at the bottom of your screen, you see a brand new decal that says Young Jump. So
That's
that's
cool.
what I've been doing.
Nice.
did notice
Just
that.
decaling
That's
up
what
the
I've been
joint.
doing for a year.
Yeah. And you
I love
spelled
the
it right?
podcast and have only been working on that.
It came out beautifully.
Thank you so much.
Um,
But hey, boys.
hi. Welcome. Should we? I guess we can skip my bit since you're here. should we just talk about Blade from 1980?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Was it 1990? I have a note.
I think
here
it was
somewhere.
90 something.
You're messing up my segments again. Blade
The segment
from 2019.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, 2019. That's right.
No, not at all.
No, 1999.
1919.
19
This was one of the first movies ever made.
1872. Did I say 2019?
You did say
Christ,
2019.
I'm an idiot. My brain is bad.
From 1998.
That's what I said.
Blade.
You don't wind it back. Directed by Stephen Norrington, written by David S. Goyer, starring
Ooh.
Wesley Snipes,
Yeah.
Stephen Dorff, Chris Christopherson, country superstar Chris Christopherson,
Huh.
and I don't know, I'm going to mess her name up. And Boucher, right.
I would assume it's N'Bouche,
Boucher.
but I don't know that, but that's my assumption.
In Bush? It wouldn't be in Bush.
How is it spelled?
N
Yeah.
_Bushe.
Is she the shoulder
N'Bouche.
lady?
She's the
Puts her
only.
shoulder back in.
She's the
Yes,
Oh,
she does
yes.
do that. Yes.
And Donald Logue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who also recently appeared on What We Do in the Shadows,
Oh, did it?
referencing his role as a lot of the. There are times when other vampires appear who
Yeah,
are
yeah.
actors who have played vampires.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I wasn't a vampire then, but I got turned later.
Oh.
And I didn't realize this was the movie, and that he was
funny.
in as that. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is it.
Even though
Wesley-
we watched him die
Yeah.
in a really cool action bit with the shink.
No,
got-
sorry. It's not their characters. It's
Oh.
the actor
Yeah.
is
Donald Logue, the actor,
is a vampire. Tilda Swinton plays an actor who is a vampire, and Wesley Snipes himself plays the Daywalker,
Oh, that's
who the other guys are like, this fucking guy. Like, he thinks he's too good for all of us.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
IMDb describes it thusly: a half vampire, half mortal man becomes the protector of the mortal race while slaying evil vampires.
Oh.
That's nice of him.
Yeah. Not so nice for the
No,
evil,
evil
vampires.
vampires,
Right?
no.
Could have talked to him.
So, Terry, since you're here, why don't you start us off with your experience with Blade, which is based on the Marvel comics of the same name.
Mhm.
And did you see it as it came out? What was your reaction to it when you first saw it?
So let's see, 1998. This is hitting me as an 11-year-old.
Okay.
So I saw it definitely probably when I was 11 or probably 12 because it had come out on home release. I definitely didn't get to go to theaters to see this one. And I remember feeling sick to my stomach at parts. I remember I was a very sheltered kid. So, as soon as the blood's coming out in the rave, I'm like, oh my God.
The
what
very
Yeah.
what
first
is
scene.
happening?
Terry, that's
my
not that
mind is-
sheltered. We don't. That's not a usual thing to have as part of your childhood.
Blood raves.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
Not everybody had
definitely
blood
raised-
raves.
no. You're alone in that.
Oh, okay.
I was raised in like a very Christian household. So vampires, devil stuff, like it just made me feel sick to my stomach.
I gotcha.
And it does right up until Blade kind of hits the scene and starts cutting people to pieces. My stomach's still hurting because it's like a gore fest, but now it's an action movie. So to me, I never saw Blade as horror. I saw it as like a badass action movie with supernatural elements,
Sure.
if that makes sense. Which, and I definitely have it burned into my brain the first time Deacon Frost gets cut in half
Mhm.
and the blood pulls him back together with that weird CGI. That's always stuck in my head. What I love about this movie is there's so many practical ninja effects because Wesley Snipes is actually a good martial artist.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just hit me right across the chops as a solid action movie that had horror elements, which was something I was really interested in. I was always really interested in comedy with horror elements and also action with horror elements.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't be until I'm like 15, 16 that I'm really starting to appreciate horror for horror. So
Sure.
this is a good gateway drug to horror.
Nice, Brian.
Yeah, I definitely. Well, yes.
I'm sorry. How did you enjoy it back in 1998?
The experience that I had with it in 1998 seemed pretty cool. I was like, oh, there's that Blade movie. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
And then you just went on with the rest of your life.
Up until now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Brian didn't actually watch it until today. Wow, today.
Oh yeah, today.
So my experience, we'll jump
Today
back
was-
to me.
Is that legitimate? Today was his first experience?
That was the first time. It's certainly a movie that I would have watched back then. I just didn't for whatever reason, and it just slipped past.
Does it hold up?
It's funny you should say that you saw it as an action movie, because while I was watching it, I was like, this is a 90s action movie.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Mhm.
And that has cool stuff, nostalgic stuff, is dated in some ways.
Yeah.
This is a Wesley Snipes 90s action movie.
Yeah.
And he is at the
Yeah.
peak of his Snipesness in
Yeah.
this.
He's
yeah.
sniping it up, brother.
Yeah. In every scene that he's in.
Yeah.
And off screen sometimes, even when he's not.
That's true.
You can tell he's
You can
sniping
tell
it
he's
up.
just off screen sniping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like snipe, snipe, snipe.
Well, he's coming off a what? What's the movie with him and Stallone? That will probably be
Demolition
like
Man?
Demolition
before that.
Man?
Oh, it's an amazing movie.
He's probably coming.
Ooh.
He's coming right off of Demolition
Ooh.
Man, I think.
To this day, I love Demolition Man.
It's a great movie.
What was the date on that?
I'm going to check the date on that.
All right.
Sylvester Stallone was talking a while ago about a sequel, but then I heard apparently he talked a lot about how much he would like to do a sequel to
Right.
that. But, I would love to see. I would absolutely watch a sequel.
To me, that and Judge Dredd, Judge Dredd had come out around the same times, and it felt like to me that the Demolition Man was the movie Judge Dredd wanted to be, but wasn't
Interesting.
quite. Yeah,
Just-
of the two futuristic,
yeah,
ridiculously
yeah.
masculine action films, that
Yeah.
was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of cool, interesting ideas. Like
yeah, the
the
three
knitting and the
seashells.
future sex, the 3 seashells. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that came out in 93. So it was 5 years before this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh, okay. So that's after that's right after Smoking Hot Sandra Bullock in Speed,
Mhm.
but before stealing guy's life in Blind Spot.
I've never seen Blind Spot.
No, that was much
That's the
later.
movie
I thought that was
it
in
was,
the.
but I don't do dates in years. I do dates in how good Sandra Bullock looked
Oh, I see.
at
Sure.
the time.
Sure. Is it up and
So
down
that was
I think
sometimes?
yours.
she's
You're like,
always looked pretty good. I mean,
You're
she
like-
still looks great.
I didn't care for
I
her
just
look in
saw-
Miss Congeniality, so that came out later. Even though, like, I didn't like the dress she wore, so
Yeah,
that was in the
yeah.
2015s.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about long hair, long brown hair Sandra
Yeah.
Bullock instead of long blonde hair Sandra Bullock, who would come later.
Interesting.
Oh, those
Is this how you
And
rate
now we have
all
Bird Box
movies?
Sandra Bullock. Well, yes.
Yeah. Like, remember the animated film
I don't
Aladdin?
mean to
Sandra
take over
Bullock.
the show. You guys keep going.
So I saw this in the theater when it was coming out. My
Okay.
aforementioned best friend Tink.
Yes.
I had taken her to see this movie,
Oh.
and I didn't realize how sensitive she was. So we went
yeah.
into the theater, and I was blood raves happening,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh my god, this movie's amazing!" And then she gets up and leaves, and I was like, "Where? I guess she wants popcorn. Where is she going?"
She was out.
And she was out.
Yeah, yeah.
She walked out of the theater. She was like, That's not for me.
And this is
That's not
before
mine."
cell phones, so she
What?
could not even communicate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, growing this is in the beginning of our friendship.
Mm.
So it was my oopsie.
Mm.
But knowing her now, I'm like, oh, why would you ever take her to see Blade? Jesus Christ.
Right.
So I saw it in the theater. I think I went back in and saw it a different time. I went home with her, and then I came back. And man, I thought this movie was a blast as a kid. I thought it was really, really fun. I really liked the horror elements. I thought it was really badass. Also, we didn't have a lot of comic book movies at the time.
No.
And even though I wasn't a Blade fan of his comic books, I was like, "Oh, I got to go see this.
Sure.
This is you don't get a lot of this."
I'm not sure I even knew at the time
That he was
if
a comic.
it was a I don't know.
Yeah.
As you know, I know a lot about
Yeah.
who is and is not a comics character.
Sure, yeah.
But he is, and especially then was,
Mhm.
pretty obscure
Yeah.
and maybe didn't
He
even
wa-
have a comic for a while.
He was definitely in Spider-Man the animated series in an
Mhm.
episode, and I think
Yep.
he was in the X-Men animated series once too.
Oh,
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Other than that peripheral,
yeah.
probably didn't get much. Maybe he
I
showed up
must
in a
have
Ghost
known
Rider.
that. In
Ghost-
Ghost Rider with Nicolas
He might have
Cage.
showed up in a Ghost Rider comic book.
Comic
Oh,
book.
in a okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
way later.
But yeah, I love this movie. When
I mean,
it
he
was coming out.
could.
And the soundtrack. Do you remember the soundtrack was pretty great. You could just listen to it over and over again. Which I think Nolan even mentioned to me too. So,
Yeah.
I wasn't big into what would you call that? Like techno,
Electronica at the time.
electronic at the
Well,
time.
we would now call it techno. Yeah.
And that was never
think.
my vibe of music,
Hmm.
but its involvement in the movie
Yeah.
made me sort of appreciate it.
I'll tell you what, friends of mine and I used to make movies
Mm-hmm.
in high school and a little after, and found that techno is awesome for movies because
Mm.
everything a beat strikes everything.
Yeah.
Right. So like everything works.
Yeah.
Every action scene is like perfect. It seemed like.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So we
Yes.
revisited it.
I visited it.
You visited it the once.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway?
I thought it was a pretty cool movie. It was a fun movie that, like I said, was distinctly 1990s action film.
Yeah.
Which is not a genre that I dislike. Having seen it for the first time now, there are aspects of it that are like, oh, those beats are dated, and this is kind of slow.
Do you mean the techno beats?
Yes.
Okay.
You know how I refer to music as beats?
Yeah.
Like people who know about music stuff do.
Yeah.
And so, and yeah, I screamed aloud, these beats are dated.
Yeah. These dated beats.
Yeah. And
were you eating beets?
He was eating a beet salad.
A little past its prime.
These beets are dated.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to work that phrase in once a day if possible. So, the way that the story was laid out, some of the things that were like, man, that plot hole is crazy, or that camera that lingering on that spot, or him, as you mentioned, giving the downward fist pump.
Oh my! He does that. There's a scene in this movie where in the beginning, the big badass blood orgy scene, not blood orgy, blood rave.
Yeah.
And he hits Donald Logue with a metal spike.
Yeah. Or,
and then does
steak.
a Kevin McAllister fist pump.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It was
but
weird.
also, that lets you know that the movie is not taking itself too seriously.
I guess so. Yeah. And very much like a 90s action movie where you've got these people, Blade does have powers, but even if they didn't, like, doing borderline cartoony things.
My dude takes this human doctor woman who has been attacked and I think bitten. And then I believe he breaks a window and sees across the street is a rooftop with a tarp over some boxes. And he just tosses her over the city block to land on a tarp.
I made a note of it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's got a horrible neck wound. Let's throw her across out of a hospital where they treat things like that. And this is explained later, and I was like, oh, okay. But then the police's actions, when they're like, he grabs her and they start running away, and they're like, let's shoot both of them. Let's open fire.
He's got a hostage. Just kill them all.
They're like 12 of them firing on him.
So wait, they explained him throwing her off a roof?
Not the throwing part, but the taking her from a hospital, where she could actually be treated.
Yeah.
Because she's turning into a vampire.
And vampires are everywhere.
Well, that too, actually. I didn't think of that, but just they have a way. The hospital's not going to know to inject garlic into her veins.
Right,
They're not going to do. They're not even going to try.
Yeah.
So,
back in the 1700s, they might have.
Maybe.
Yeah. Get my
I
leeches.
just love
Yeah.
how that shoulder dislocation scene that happened right there, where Blade just casually snaps it and shoves it back in her shoulder, is my favorite part of the movie. And it stuck with me like to this day of how weird it was, because it was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then
It happens
and
twice.
she has this scream that's this beautifully sexy scream that happens as well. The woman's a goddamn fox.
Terry, how many people's shoulders have you
it's
just
just
looked
a
at?
lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, of all of the shoulder dislocations that Terry's been a part of, this is the sexiest scream.
Yeah.
That he's
Nothing
heard.
quite comes close. Chasing that high forever.
I'm just a guy who likes seeing a shoulder
Sure.
put back
I'm just
in
a
place.
man standing in
I
front
like
of a
things
woman
that are-
begging
shoulder is
her
just
for
like
a
back
sexy
in their
scream when I
place.
pop her arm back in.
And I'll bet you, I bet you, Terry enjoyed Wesley Snipes' character's shoulder dislocation just as much. Yeah. Which
I
is weird
sure
for
did.
that to happen twice.
And that's it for me. I just wanted to give the quick Blade shoulder update. Guys,
thank
have
you.
a great show.
Wait,
Oh,
that's
you
it?
too.
You're really
That's
done?
it? He's done.
Okay, bye. Love you.
Yeah, I got to
Long
run.
term. All right, see ya. Speaking of things that I noted, the opening scene. There's that guy that is convinced to go into the blood orgy.
Oh, yeah.
The cool '90s guy.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't a baseball
I
cap.
know, I know.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that. But the the thing is, what is with people in movies and TV and their propensity to lick things? that drip on them or are
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Especially if it's
Oh.
red. He's like, something drips on his hand. You can almost think like, is this blood? I'll lick it.
Yeah.
and he licks it, and he's like, oh no. Like, why would you?
Oh, I shouldn't have licked
Right.
this.
Even if it was blood, I shouldn't have licked it.
Yeah.
Right? And
Maybe he wanted to know if it was his own. Like, wait
dripping
a minute,
from the
that's
ceiling.
not my
Yeah.
blood.
I've licked enough
Oh,
of my
this
own
is definitely
blood.
someone else's blood.
Yeah. What is with these people that
I don't-
just
yeah, I noticed that.
that, or sometimes things turn out to be chocolate, but they might not have been. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a toddler. I know exactly what you
You've
mean.
licked some things that may or may not have been
Beef
chocolate. Sure.
Yep. Oh man.
Right.
Did you like the movie? Is the
I
question.
enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was surprisingly, almost oddly, a little slow sometimes.
Really?
That,
Okay.
but maybe that was just because I was thinking of it in terms of what I could say about it on the show and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Overall, yeah, I enjoyed it as the thing that it was, and I definitely found myself thinking, oh, I bet I would have loved this if I saw it in
Right.
1998.
Yeah.
Not
2019 when it came out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think that about a lot of movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I actually was kind of delighted again.
excellent.
I have not seen. I actually went to go see where it was streaming, and it wasn't streaming. So
Didn't
I was
pay
like,
for it.
hold up. I wonder if I have this in my DVD collection.
You held it up.
Turns out I went upstairs and I was like, oh shit, I actually owned this movie.
Excellent.
It had never been opened. It still had the cellophane. And so I cracked it open, popped it in the old PS5
Cracking pop.
and cranked it up.
Nice.
And it was fun.
You liked it? Yeah.
I was really, because it's kind of a joke at this point, at least to me. I don't really consider Blade like a very serious.
No. I don't know if it wanted to be at the time.
Well,
but...
like as a contender for like a great either action movie or a comic book movie.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah.
because of the comic book movies that we've had since then.
Yeah.
This has really sort of fallen by the wayside as far as I've been concerned.
And it's definitely mostly noted as like, it's very cool that Blade existed and showed Hollywood that movies about comics could be very cool and successful.
It's considered sort of the grandfather of the modern superhero action film, right? But yeah, there was a couple of things I was kind of surprised by. Some of
What was that?
the events in the film, like the fact that she was still infected after they gave her the cure. But then the very next scene, she's working on a cure. So because it's been so long that I kind of forgot.
The cure,
the
you mean
sidekick.
the garlic
Yeah,
injection thing?
yeah, the injection.
Oh, no, that
they
just
give
held
her.
it off.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
So when she was like, "Oh, I'm still infected," I was like, "Oh no, are they actually gonna kill this side character? That'd be kind of cool."
Yeah.
Oh wait, no,
No.
she's developed a cure in the very next scene.
Yeah.
So, but still, I was like, "Woo." Oh.
Yeah. No. Although one does wonder that they had that cure and Whistler got infected and he was like, now I have to kill myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't you try the cure?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Maybe because he was too far gone.
He wasn't any farther gone than she was. Not
he
that
was
much
beaten
farther.
within an inch of his life. She had a bite, and he was like,
Yeah.
almost murdered.
Oh, you think like more vampire stuff got in him? Too much.
I think that even if he was cured, he
Yeah.
would die of his mortal wounds.
Oh, I got you.
right.
Yeah.
He was. The
They should
man
have let
was
him
covered
heal
in-
himself by being a vampire
Yeah,
and then
right.
cured him.
That's
They
true.
don't
yeah,
think these things
yeah.
out.
Ah.
Yeah.
So I think some of my pros were that the action was over the top, but still pretty fun.
Mhm.
I had forgotten that because I was like, man, Wesley Snipes is really fucking tearing it up with the choreography and
He
everything.
tore it up.
I forgot that he was like a martial artist.
I didn't know
Did he
that
have any-
until just now.
Oh, I thought you had just said.
Terry said that.
Oh, Terry said.
Yeah.
that. And the gore. Some of the gore is actually really good. There's a lot of CGI that I think really does not hold up.
Yeah.
The aforementioned him.
The blood thing.
The
Yeah,
blood.
yeah.
The blood god. All the blood god stuff.
It's still,
basically.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't hold up in the sense that it doesn't look that realistic
Yeah.
and we can do it way better now.
Mhm.
But a lot of the artistry of what they did I thought was pretty cool. Like the winged skeletons crawling out of the vampires.
Yeah, they were.
Very cool.
They were, and it took me a minute to realize it. But as the vampires are being possessed by the blood god,
Mhm.
there is a skeleton inside their
Yes.
skeleton that
Yeah.
crawls out of their skeleton
It's
with
cool.
wings.
Yeah.
So badass.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very, very cool.
I thought it was interesting that they seem like in the beginning they die and they kind of get burned away by that glowing light. And
The
that
old
happens,
Buffy,
yeah,
usual
but
Buffy
with a light.
dusting.
and that happens again at the end, but they seem to like different things seem to happen to vampires when they died, like depending on how they were killed or just not
Dispatched.
that much. Yeah, exactly. Which, all right, so I just learned something interesting about vampires. And I was impressed that they mentioned here, they're like, some of the stuff is bullshit, like crosses and running water don't do shit.
Right, yeah.
I only recently learned that running water, well, apparently vampires in some myth can't cross running water.
Yeah.
But the more interesting thing I learned recently is vampires can't see their reflections, right?
Sure.
Because mirrors are backed with silver.
Yeah.
I
Isn't
didn't
that
know
cool?
it was the silver.
I found that out recently too,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, the old
Yeah.
mirrors used to have silver in them.
And it's transferred itself to any recording
Yeah.
device or anything like that. But yeah, I thought that was very
That's
cool.
a cool bit.
Yeah.
So it's in the chat. Let's see. Robert Monroe Jr. had mentioned earlier about being in a very haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
The spirits were very chill.
Nice.
I'd sometimes hear native drumming and chanting when I was alone in the house. My wife saw a black woman wearing 19th century clothes. Our dog would often stand at the bottom of the stairs looking up at nothing that we could see and bark. That is spooky.
Yes.
Yeah. My cats do shit like that all the time.
Yeah.
They'll just they'll look at us and they'll be looking directly past us. And I'm like, what are you looking at, you little shit? What's up there?
Could be any number of things. Not even necessarily ghosts. Some other type of being.
Did you have any cons?
For the movie?
Yeah.
Blade?
What were you like?
Some stuff.
It's kind of misogynistic. They say bitch a lot. He says hooker, whore.
Which are really only bad because we perceive that profession as bad, right?
Yeah.
Which we shouldn't. But
Well, no, I mean I think the terms
they are derogatory
themselves are derogatory.
it's one of those things where as long as society perceives something as bad fairly or unfairly, any term you use to describe it will eventually come to take on negative connotations. You know what I mean?
Good point, yeah.
And I don't remember him saying those things, although I don't doubt that he did.
He doesn't.
Oh, somebody does.
I mean, and it is the bad guys who say the
Right,
words.
right. Interestingly enough, he mouths the phrase, what the fuck, right?
Yeah,
And
which I love. I
I thought
that
it was
little
very cool.
touch. He could have said it,
Right.
but the fact that he mouths it,
Yeah.
it gets a big laugh.
I thought it was really cool, and it
Yeah.
is much funnier. And I found myself wondering, is this an example of restriction breeding creativity, right? Were they not allowed to have the
Were
hero?
they out of F-bombs?
Maybe, or just because of which character it was.
Yeah.
I don't know how that stuff
No.
works.
Well, because you said, can he have the hero?
Yeah.
He does use the F-bomb earlier
Does
in the
he?
movies.
Okay.
Because another funny scene, he's got good comedic timing in this movie, which I forgot about. But there's a scene where he's there helping the woman and he's fighting off vampires in the hospital. And then police show up and just start shooting. And he goes, what the fuck's wrong with you? Well, what's wrong with y'all motherfuckers? Or something like that.
That's true. Oh, he does. Yeah. Which, I mean,
he's
how
like
would they know?
genuinely
But,
surprised.
yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. He's a vampire.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of his looks, very
He's
classic.
so expressive
very
in this movie.
Classic Wesley Snipes. He's really good at it.
I forgot
It's
how
fun.
expressive he was. You know,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
head, he was always this very stoic, just, you know.
No, he's very much.
Yeah, he makes a lot of faces while he's fighting, and he reacts well, like believably to a lot of things while he's fighting.
Yeah.
Like he's in the moment. He's not just doing, some sort of choreography that they've mapped out 100 times. Like he feels like he's actually involved himself, the character, while fighting.
Right.
Very, very naturalistic.
Speaking of choreography, the final sword fight scene where it's one of those let's hit each other's sword fights.
So many times. We're just going ching, ching,
Yeah,
ching,
yeah,
ching,
yeah.
ching, ching.
Like this is the goal.
Yeah.
But-
Although another bit I was laughing at was
Yeah.
when he finds after he mouths the what the fuck, and then he just starts tearing up Deacon Frost. He's just slicing away
Yeah,
at him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's regenerating so quickly. That's another good bit.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool. I was very happy that more happened. Sometimes in a movie there's some really, really bad thing that's going to happen and they prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
And I'm often a little disappointed because I
wanna
want
see
to
the
see
thing.
the thing, right?
Well.
Yeah.
Wait, are you going somewhere with this?
No, that was where I went.
So the original ending to this movie
Yeah.
was they summon the blood god,
Mm-hmm.
my personal Lord and Savior.
Yeah. Oh, you
And-
mentioned that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
That's unsettling.
And he wins. So
Huh.
he becomes the blood god and is basically just this amorphous blood blob.
Interesting.
And he fights
Blade?
Blade, that
Yeah.
guy. And
titular Blade?
he basically, you know how he says that he turns everybody into vampires.
He did say that.
That's the end of the movie.
Oh.
Is the whole world gets turned into vampires.
What are they going to eat?
And then the idea. That's one of my notes. I was like, Deacon Frost's whole plan
yeah.
is to get the blood god
Yeah.
to make everyone in the world a vampire,
Seems like a problem.
and then you'll just starve to death.
Yeah.
Like, great, you guys win, but you're gonna be hungry.
Right. Do you remember? Do you remember that Justice League Unlimited episode where Grodd has a plan and the whole Legion of Doom is working to help him, and it turns out the plan is to turn everyone into gorillas.
Oh my
Luther's
God.
like, "That's the plan.
I don't
We're all
remember
gonna be
that.
gorillas."
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they filmed the actual end of the movie was,
Yeah.
and then the sequel was them trying to like, it's like post-apocalyptic Mad Max
Oh.
style. Everyone's a vampire
Now
except
that's
for Blade
interesting.
and his friend.
That's interesting. I read
but-
a book like that once, where really cool sci-fi book where vampires were the main society,
Mhm.
and so much so that they didn't even really know that they were vampires.
Yeah.
They drank blood and it came from farms,
Yeah.
but they didn't really realize that they were like sentient humans in these
Oh.
farms. And I cannot remember the
I
name
feel
of that
like they
book.
made a movie very similar to that
That's
called
possible.
Daywalkers, starring Ethan Hawke.
Interesting.
You should look it up. I don't know if it's
right.
actually based on that, but that sounds very, very similar. Like the whole
Interesting.
society is
Yeah.
vampires.
It could be. This
Yeah.
this book would be like there was a lot of weird stuff that
Oh, okay.
happened in this, but
Alright.
it could be. Anyway,
Oh, so I didn't finish my story.
Yeah.
So, but they sent it to test audiences,
Didn't
and
care
test
for it.
audiences were like,
Yeah.
once Deacon Frost disappears and becomes an amorphous blood blob, we don't care. So they actually went back and refilmed the whole ending.
huh.
So yeah.
And it
Uh,
probably would. It's not Empire Strikes Back, right?
Right.
It didn't already have invested audiences.
Yeah.
So to end on a note where they're like, this next movie's going to be really cool,
Mm-hmm.
maybe wasn't. you
Yeah,
know.
they weren't sure if there was going to be a sequel, so they
Right.
didn't bother with it. Another side note is the only line I remember from this movie,
Mhm.
which has lived with me all of this time,
Hmm.
is at the end of the movie before he delivers his coup de grace to
Mhm.
Deacon Frost.
Hmm.
Blade says he stops and he says, "Some
very s-
motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill."
I took a note of that line as well.
I-
Which
I remember
motherfuckers are those?
In the theater, I remember going,
What?
"What?"
Like, I get what that line means.
Yeah, no, I
right? But how
understand
does it apply to,
to
this
this
situation?
situation.
right.
So, in a
Right.
conversation that Blade was having with David S. Goyer, the writer, and the
Mhm.
director Norrington,
Mhm.
he wound up just saying that about Deacon.
Mm.
It was just
Mhm.
an off-the-cuff comment about Deacon and how he thinks the character is.
Hmm.
Like, and so they love the line so much that
Yeah.
they just like had to force it into the movie.
It's a cool line, but it not in this context.
I don't think it's that cool. I
it'd
think
be
it's
cool.
it doesn't really flow off the tongue. It's a bit of a
It's
a
also maybe
long
not
bit.
in everyone's experience
Yeah.
or anyone's experience.
I don't know anyone who tries to ice skate uphill.
Most people
Yeah.
would never even have a chance.
Yeah,
Why would there
that's
be
Yeah.
a situation where
Yeah.
a hill was like
Yeah.
solid ice?
But maybe there's one or two motherfuckers out there who are always trying to do it. I don't
He
know.
didn't say every motherfucker
just-
is always
yeah,
trying to
some.
ice skate up. He said
Yeah.
some motherfuckers.
So yeah.
And it seemed to me almost like a line, like I remember from the first Independence Day, that there was something before
Mhm.
that was seeded in the plot somewhere, and that got cut somehow.
Mhm.
And something like that in Independence Day, I forget what it was, but Will Smith says something to one of the aliens, and I'm like, it seems like a callback, but there
Yeah.
was nothing it's
What
calling
are you
back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question like that.
What is that?
And maybe
question?
I just missed it because I was watching it in today and I was kind of doing, store
Your
stuff
thing.
at the time.
Yeah.
There's a whole sequence after Whistler dies.
Mm-hmm.
And Blade is there basically doing like a Chinese funeral rite in front of a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some
Strange
point,
scene.
he picks up
Yeah.
a plant
Yes.
and uses his knife,
Yeah.
his sword,
Cut the roots out.
to cut.
Boom. Gone.
Why?
Well, you see, JD,
Yes.
there's no reason for that.
I was wondering if I missed a line
No.
or something like maybe some of the.
Maybe I
it-
too was curious.
Is it possible that some of the cure they were using came from that plant or something?
Anything is possible.
Was it a garlic plant?
I don't know what.
No,
I
it
don't
wasn't a
think
garlic
so.
plant,
And
no.
even if it was,
I'm trying.
is that the best way to get garlic?
No.
I don't know. You just buy it.
If
People
anyone
sell garlic.
knows
Yeah.
what that scene is about in Blade, where
Yeah.
he cuts the roots off of the
Yeah.
plant in a very dramatic
Well,
slow-mo scene.
Because he
Let me
had been meditating in front of this.
Yes.
And then he sweeps his like kind of meditative focus things off of the meditative focus things table, and there's like
where everyone keeps their meditative focus stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And some silver bullets were there too,
Mhm.
and he sweeps those off.
You're gonna need those. Why'd you
And
sweep those off?
I'm sure he picked them up later.
Okay.
But he probably has a lot. And then he pulls the plant out of the dirt and he cuts it off as though that means something to him.
Yeah.
Like this is Whistler hated this plant or something,
Yeah.
or he loved it. I don't know. But no, it was very strange.
I guess the only thing I could think of is metaphorically,
Mhm.
it is him. He
Uh-huh.
no longer has his Whistler was his roots to the human world,
Interesting.
and so
Yeah.
he no longer has those roots.
Maybe.
Right? I'm like stretching here. I'm Reed Richardsing a lot.
They never you are. And they never show Whistler interacting with that meditation
Plant.
stuff either.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had a meditation plant.
Well,
or-
we'd seen that plant before in the movie.
Did we?
We did, but it was not like
Okay.
I don't think they did anything with
So
I
it's
don't
a
know, but
callback
it was
to
there.
nothing.
It was a callback
Love
to something
Yeah.
from another movie,
Gotcha.
unrelated. Speaking of things involving garlic, so the woman, I forget the doctor's name.
Yes.
She is given that vampire mace, which is like a combination of garlic and silver nitrate, I
Yes.
think, right?
Yes.
So, and she sprays it in a vampire's face in the climactic battle,
Mhm.
and it causes the vampire to explode.
Yeah.
I did not think that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a mild irritation and annoyance, like
yeah.
enough to let her get away, right? But it causes the vampire to explode, which made me wonder, why does Blade not do this? Why doesn't Blade carry around a sprayer full of this? Because it seems like the best
Yep.
way to kill vampires.
Just a super soaker full of this stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
One of those weed things where you got a
Mhm.
tank and a sprayer, power washer of
Yeah,
exactly. It seems like the best way to kill vampires. He doesn't even always take his sword out, which is another good way to kill vampires.
Yeah.
He's just fighting them hand to hand.
There's a
You
lot
know?
of times in this movie where he is just kicking and punching
Right.
vampires,
Like
and
that's
then
not going to work.
they fall over.
Right.
I'm like, they're still alive. They're
Right.
vampires. They're not even probably unconscious because they are vampires that
right.
heal very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have a sword.
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of weapons.
Although his sword was pretty cool.
It was a pretty
With the-
cool
with the
sword
little
with the
timer,
thing that
Yeah.
I guess causes vampires' hands to explode. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why that happened, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They're so filled. They're like ticks. Vampires are so
That's
filled with
true.
blood that even just a tiny
That's a good
pinprick will
point.
just explode their
you should have just
hands.
carried pins around.
Right? Bing.
Yeah, throwing pins.
Yeah.
I did I did like that they used science to combat
yeah?
the vampires.
Yes.
I mean, they used science-ish stuff
Yeah.
too, right?
Sciencey
They use
things,
things from the narrative realm of science.
There we go.
As
Yeah,
opposed
yeah,
to mythology
understand,
or
yeah.
magic, where the doctor says, "Well, I got
Karen.
this thing."
Karen is her name.
I've got this thing. Check out what happens when I squirt it onto vampire blood and it explodes. And he's
Uh-huh.
like, "That's not a cure." He's like, "I didn't say it was a cure."
Yeah.
And it's a cool way to kill vampires. I like the idea of like, oh, here we're further advanced than we were
Yeah.
thousands of years ago. Maybe we've
We'll
come
just
up with something
create
else
a new thing
that
to
will.
murder them with.
Yeah.
Sorry, I laughed at because you were talking about that scene, and that
Yeah.
reminded me. So she takes this potion
Mhm.
and the science potion,
Yeah.
and puts it on vampire blood.
Sure.
Puts it on for underneath a
A
microscope,
microscope.
knowing full well that it will explode
Yes,
and shatter the microscope. Why even put it under the microscope?
it's a good
Just
point.
put it here.
That is also a good demonstration.
Don't make a fucking
Yeah.
April Fool's booby trap.
Yeah. Well, she
for
did say
Blade's-
stand back
Yeah.
from the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Also, did she bring 2 microscopes? Had she already done that?
Maybe.
And that's
She's a
what it-
doctor. Every doctor I know carries around at least 4 to 7 microscopes.
and is also capable of hauling machinery out of a hospital. She
Yeah.
brings large equipment.
Yeah.
From, she would just go to the hospital where she works. I'm like, I'm taking this. I'm
Yeah.
taking this MRI machine.
I'm going to McDonald's for lunch. Anybody want anything?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm borrowing this. Don't worry about it.
I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah.
the another thing, speaking of people seeming to have died, which we were a little while ago and are
Yeah.
about to be again. So I forget, they're in the Vampire Bible room, which is set up
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
it's seemingly impractical way to read a vampire Bible, but
Mhm.
whatever. It looks cool.
And you know what it is? It's more practically there to throw people through.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Just a lot of glass.
You would think all parties would not want that to be destroyed, right? Blade would want to get his hands on that too.
Right.
Even though the one fragment that he had related to the plot. He
Yeah,
was
I
able to
noticed
get that.
too.
He was able to
Yeah.
get that, and it
Mhm.
said like the 3 words that had to do with the story. And
Yeah.
so, but not much else, which
Yeah.
was cool at least. So they run, right? And they've set up a bomb. And they they run into the subway, and they get into the little part where in TV you can hide between a
Yes.
subway car
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
wall,
yeah.
right? But it's not that big,
Mm-mm.
just big enough for a person, a
Yeah.
little bit. And then Whistler is like, I don't know what happens to him. He gets whisked away by
Yeah.
the train.
Yeah.
And he's in the very next scene, no issue.
Well, they show him
Yeah.
getting away.
I thought he got pulled away. I thought he like got hit by the train.
You are correct.
okay.
He did get pulled away.
Okay.
Quite violently.
Yeah.
And probably to his death.
One would think.
But then she leans down and can see as the train is going by
Oh, is that right?
that he
Okay.
gets into like a subway tunnel.
That might have been when I was writing on my phone the note about what the hell was
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I missed that,
Yeah.
which was improper of me.
It reminds me of the
But-
scene in Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones, where Mads
still-
Mikkelsen
Yeah.
gets absolutely obliterated in the face on a moving train.
He's all good.
And then when we see him in the future, he's like got a little scar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too bad.
Um,
So, what else did I... Oh, you know what I thought was cool? Dated now, but that's because it was cool, probably, although they don't continue it throughout the movie. The slightly sped up action
I
in the beginning.
hate it.
Did you?
I hate that.
I could see that
90s
happening.
Like, there's a whole sequence in
Yeah.
the middle of the movie where he's Are you talking about where he's following somebody in the
Mhm.
car?
And it's like,
And it's
is
sped up
this,
for no reason.
is this bad CGI or is this
No,
on purpose kind
This
of
is
thing?
just we want these cars to be driving faster, so we're gonna speed it up
See, I
too
thought...
much.
I wondered that, and I was on the fence for
Yeah.
30 seconds or so, and I
Yeah.
was like, no, I think they are doing this as a heightened action kind of thing,
Yeah.
not to pretend that the cars are moving faster than they are, because they also do it with the human
Yeah.
motions
Yeah.
and not just Blade.
I
And
hate it.
I remember seeing that kind of thing in the 90s and
Yeah.
thinking it was awesome.
Oh, I always hated it. It's like,
Okay.
what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Stop it.
There's
There's also like when there's a lot of quick cuts and someone
Mhm.
is doing action really fast, they'll do this weird blur.
like at the end of this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, don't do that. I hate
Yeah.
that. I hate that camera trick.
I didn't mind it in this case, but I
Mm.
often do.
Yeah.
Really not like it.
Mm.
It depends, but I think that there are way better examples of the short speed bursts of
Mhm.
action in
Mm.
90s cinema and beyond than this. But I still liked it, you
Yeah.
know. So another note that I
Yeah,
had
yes. No, no, no.
was Deacon Frost in the beginning. The problem that the Pureblood Council of Vampires has is that he is not respecting the tenuous balance between vampire and human.
Yeah.
And then that is quickly left behind.
Yeah.
And not that that couldn't be what happens,
Mhm.
but it seems like they're doing that. And then out of nowhere, there's this prophecy depicted somehow in 3D from an ancient Bible
Yeah.
that they show you, like, that this is important. Like, you need to
Mhm.
see this thing. I don't know. I guess they knew where that room was or whatever. But
Mhm.
but anyway, the point is that I'm equally interested in both stories. I was also interested in the Deacon Frost is not respecting the tenuous
Yeah.
balance between human and vampire, because that's an interesting idea that the upper echelons of the human government are like, all right, you can do your thing, but
Mhm.
don't go too far. And the idea that vampires are like, oh, we can do our thing, but we shouldn't go too far because then
yeah.
they will kill us.
Yeah.
And then
And
that
also,
was,
we need food.
that's true too.
We need them
Right.
to prosper so that we can eat them at will.
Right,
Right.
right. That's true. And also, as we have grown further in society and our capabilities, it makes sense that, oh, maybe vampires, were we to organize against them,
Mm.
would not stand up. Like,
Right,
there
yeah.
aren't nearly as many of them. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
And
but-
also, severely encumbered.
Right,
by
they can't get around during the
sun.
day
Yeah.
unless they have that sunblock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Which is
See,
apparently fine.
I didn't find those two things to be at odds with each other. The fact that
Yeah.
there's a tenuous relationship that the elders are trying to keep
Mhm.
in line with humans, but also this blood god thing. I see him more as a Deacon Frost as a zealot, right? So
Yes,
you've got
absolutely.
your regular vampires who are and also they're racist, right? They've got that
'cause of
whole
the pure
racist
blood and
pure
the
blood
turn
versus
thing. Which is another major departure from traditional vampire lore that not that they had to explore it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
The idea that there are people born as vampires.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have access to these ancient texts, but it's such an old dead language that they've never been able to figure it out.
Mhm.
So the fact that he was able to figure it out using computers, modern technology,
Sure.
and is able to figure out the blood god situation.
Mhm.
I don't think that those were at odds.
No, I didn't think that they were at odds so much as they could have gone in the direction of a story
see.
where Deacon Frost is amassing vampires.
Right.
And the purebloods are not too happy about this, and Blade is certainly not happy about it.
Yeah.
But it just didn't go in that direction.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I did think the translating song, because as soon as that older vampire said, "You can never translate that," I was like,
Played
"Why
by-
not? We could translate stuff that isn't."
Udo Kier.
Yeah. What?
Udo Kier, played by Udo Kier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's actually, Arthur C. Clarke, the
Nope.
writer of 2001: Space Odyssey
Yes.
and many, many sci-fi novels.
Uh-huh.
One of the golden age grandmasters of sci-fi. He had 3 laws, and one of them was, to paraphrase, if an older distinguished scientist says that something is impossible and a younger scientist says that it is possible, it is almost certainly possible.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting. His second law, I think, and very cool and more famous, is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
That one I know.
That one's cool.
I've heard that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
There's one of that on my desk.
Oh.
But I don't really have a desk. So, I guess I do at home. But
If anyone wants to buy Brian a desk, go to his Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
Make an
And-
Amazon wish list with a desk on.
All right.
That's your homework.
I mean, I have a desk. I just what were we saying?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I was reminded of it at this time, but also watching Ahsoka this week.
Ah.
There's an idea in a lot of fantasy, including this with the ancient texts and Ahsoka and just Star Wars in general with the ancient Jedi texts and what
So
have
many,
you.
yeah.
Right? A lot of fantasy involves the idea that there was a great society much higher than our current society that fell somehow. And we are living in kind of the aftermath of that, but we might discover this ancient and powerful technology, right?
Yeah.
Which is not usually how technology works in our world, right?
Yeah.
There's no ancient and powerful technology from the 1900s that surpasses the MacBook Pro.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That you know of.
That I know of.
Ah.
And I'm always willing to be open to the possibilities.
Yeah.
But a while ago, my eyes were open to the idea that is because a lot of these stories were written in medieval times, in the aftermath of the fall of Rome. And these people were living with overgrown ruins, great constructions, not just Roman, but the Great Pyramids and all of these things that existed and were since fallen into ruin.
Yeah.
And they saw, they probably encountered some swords that were still way better than the swords they could make or what have you. And I just thought that was really interesting, that is where this story cycle of fantasy in some ways comes from.
Originates, yeah.
Right. And it shows how,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
how
makes-
we're affected.
Makes sense, yeah.
It does, right?
That they would think that, yeah.
And it also programs our ideas, even now, that there was some ancient knowledge that we don't have, that we lost, that we are living in the decline of society.
Yeah.
Rather than the upswing. And stories reinforce that. And I just thought that was a fascinating idea.
That is really neat.
Yeah.
That never occurred to me. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yes, if I didn't make it clear, it didn't occur to me either. I heard that
yeah.
from someone.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait, hang on. Let me see.
You
Let
got
me
one
just
more note?
go through my list here. I wrote, referencing Donald Logue's character and Wesley Snipes' character's interaction with him. He's fun.
He's really fun.
My note is, enough with the arms. Kill him.
Yeah.
Stop chopping off his arms.
Although, when Deacon Frost goes to cut off his arm again, it's like, nah, I'm just kidding. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
That was
That's
fun. I did like that a lot. How did Blade kill his mother with that bone? Is that bone a vampire killing bone? How did that work?
Oh, shit.
Right? Also, why did he not try to cure his mother? But I understand maybe she's too far gone or
He's
what
like,
have
the
you.
movie's almost over, Mom.
Right.
Like, we just
I
got.
don't have a lot
sorry.
of time. I know. She's like,
Yeah.
but there's a sequel. He's like, enough.
Yeah.
My life is not about you.
Yeah.
Okay? Right.
Sometimes a bird has to fly the nest.
Sometimes, actually, that's usually what should happen with
Yeah,
this.
every time.
Every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
a bird has to fly the nest.
Unless something goes terribly wrong. Yeah.
Somebody's got to pilot that nest. But yeah, how do you kill her with that bone? Let me see here. What else have we got? Now we covered ice skate
We did it.
uphill. Woman with the threatening neck wounds, licking stuff that drips on you.
Yeah,
It's
you
all
got
been covered.
nice.
Hey, how about Noel's?
Oh, now I can read Noel's letter.
Well, you
All
could
right.
have done it before, but not as early as you wanted to.
All right, here we go. Noel wrote into us. It says, I remember seeing Blade at the then newly refurbished Spring Hill 8 Theater on opening weekend. I was too young to buy a rated R ticket, but in our smaller town, no one really cared. My friends and I saw it twice in 2 days and became obsessed with it. Quoted it. I bought the soundtrack on CD with my minimal funds.
I wonder what
And-
quotes he quoted.
Played it, and probably some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Oh, he does say that.
It does,
Yeah.
Played it until the CD wore out. Fun fact, Stephen Norrington, the director, has only directed 3 movies in the last 30 years. He basically quit after helming LXG.
What was that?
LXG.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Jesus.
I didn't-
Which also, who else quit after that?
The guy, Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yeah.
I'm done with movies.
The experience and response to the movie wrecked him, proving
shame.
that when you come out the gate with a flick as badass as Blade, just retire. Peak comic book movie. I look forward to celebrating Blade 2 with you guys, a sequel as amazing as its predecessor. Have a good show, losers.
Thank you.
Thank
I hope
you,
we have
Noel.
been. LXG, I always loved the idea. I love that.
What a
Like,
neat idea. Yes,
that's what I thought
absolutely.
Shrek was going to be for fairy tales.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it didn't turn, I mean, Shrek was amazing, but it wasn't that. But the early marketing made it seem as though it was. And I love that, like, different all-stars from different fictional or whatever universes coming together. And the comic was cool.
Yeah.
At least some issues of the comic were cool.
I never got into it. I'm not a big Alan Moore fan for the most part.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like Kevin O'Neill's artwork didn't really speak to me. So I would flip through it and be like, maybe I should read this. Nah, never mind.
And I saw parts of the movie, and I thought those parts that I saw, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I never.
Yeah, it was pretty bad from what I recall.
That's what I heard, yeah.
If you like tales like that,
I do like
there
tales
is a
like
comic
that.
book mini series called The Ones. And so Brian Michael Bendis did a whole series of different The Ones from
that's
different
cool.
stories. So
That's pretty
like, you know,
cool.
the Harry
Who we
Potter,
got?
The One,
Okay.
and then other ones.
Other ones.
Other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Jet Li from the movie The One?
No, probably not.
No.
No. Maybe
Matrix,
the sequel.
Neo? The Two?
So, all right. So that's Blade.
I hope they called the sequel The Two.
The Two. Z.
Twos.
So real quick before we jet, we should
Wait.
talk about
Go carry on. Don't wait.
we should talk about some of the other. It occurred to me today while watching Blade. I was
Yeah.
like, "This is a rated R movie," and we don't get a lot of rated R
No.
comic book action films.
No.
And so I thought maybe we should just bring up some other ones
Mhm.
that we've seen over the years.
Mhm.
You said you have 7 of them.
I do.
I also have 7 of them.
Excellent. And I'll tell you what, I'm even going to mention one that I don't have.
Oh, God damn it.
Because I assumed that Randy would mention it, but he's not with us
Mm.
tonight. And Len probably would have mentioned it if he was here as
Yeah.
well. The Road to Perdition.
That was one of the first ones I thought of.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not a. I was thinking about more. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
More actiony. But
I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to mention that they probably would
Would have said
mentioned
The
that
Road to
one.
Perdition.
So here
Yeah.
it is.
In that same vein,
What do we got?
I'm going to start off with Super.
Oh, okay.
Remember Super?
I remember its existence.
Uh-huh.
I never saw it and did not realize it was actually based on a pre-existing comic.
Shit, you're right. It's not.
Well. Looks like
I
you have 6.
lose. Damn it. I've got 6.
It is.
It's still good, though. If you haven't seen Super
This one.
by James Gunn,
See ya.
starring,
Some guy.
no, from The Office.
Mike.
Rainn
Oh,
Wilson.
yeah. I was going to say Michael Scott, which is not the actor's
And
name.
also Elliot Page.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that one.
That's that one.
I always wanted to see that.
Super weird and creepy.
But as we stand now, it's 7-6.
Yes, it is.
Let's
You
see
win.
who wins.
Go. What's your number 7?
Oh, we're going in reverse order.
Yeah, which I said that 7-1 to your
Yeah.
favorite.
I don't listen to everything
Every
you say.
single countdown, you agreed with me. Go ahead.
Oh, you said it before the show. I did. Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, which is an animated film, but rated R.
All right.
And that was the one that, if you recall, involved a Reverse Flash.
Nope.
And it was awesome.
Yeah,
and
I don't think I've seen it.
later in that particular 14 or 15 movie continuity of animated DC movies, and or at least on the later side, and it was well in the continuity, right? Which I really appreciated. It felt like a comic in that way, where it's called the Suicide Squad, but it involves the Reverse Flash from the Flashpoint Paradox having been killed and staving off his death somehow it's either with his super speed or with something, but he's got a hole in his head, I think,
wow.
right? And I don't know how big a part he is in it, but everyone is trying to get this, a card or something that will keep them out of hell.
Sure.
It's like a get out of hell card.
What?
Yeah. And I think we'll also heal him, but I'm not sure about that. But it'll keep him out of hell. And it's one of those stories that starts in one place and goes real wild.
Askance.
It goes askance.
That sounds really cool, actually.
It's really cool.
I don't think I bothered with it.
You should check it out. It's actually one of the more tentpole type movies of that, even though it's called Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with that universe.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, very cool.
My number 6 is Constantine.
Ooh, I never got
starring
around to that
Keanu
one.
Reeves. I'm a big John Constantine fan.
Sure.
Love him. And this is barely that character.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Thematically, he's very similar.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like him.
Black hair.
Doesn't talk like him.
The American accent.
It takes place in L.A. instead of London.
Mhm.
London is a big part of Constantine's stories.
Yeah.
It's almost like a character. But
Interesting.
it's still, once I got past all of that, I was
Mhm.
like, this is a kind of fun movie.
You
I
liked
like
it.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rachel Weisz is in it, who I like a lot.
Oh, yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
And earlier on in
Her first time playing twins. She's currently in a show
First
that
time.
just dropped this year,
Hmm.
which is awesome, called Dead Ringers, which is based on the David Cronenberg
Hmm.
movie starring Jeremy Irons from the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's off to a great start. And she is just,
She plays twins.
you can watch somebody and you're just like, oh my God, that actor or actress is having a blast.
I know about that.
That's this show. She
Okay.
is absolutely killing it. And it
That's
looks
cool.
like she's having a really fun time.
That's awesome.
So, and that really translates.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Constantine, I love it.
That's cool. A similar thing happened to me. It's not rated R, but with Lucifer, the show.
Mhm.
You know I love the Lucifer
I
series
know it.
a lot.
Yeah.
And the show is very, very different. And so I didn't watch it for a while. And when I ultimately did, I was like, this show is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's not at all this, it's, I don't know, 1 or 2%
Yeah.
influenced by, but it's great. They're both great.
What if Lucifer gave up being in hell and ran a bar?
Yeah. And he
Right,
knows
that's
some of the
it.
same name people.
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it. But they're just both great in very different ways.
Yeah.
So anyway, my next one is V for Vendetta.
Oh, all
is
right.
a great movie.
That is so good.
It's a really cool movie. I remember when it came out on the IMAX, and a lot of really, really cool stuff happens in that film. An excellent rhyme,
Yeah.
which he did not make up. But, yeah.
Yeah. I love a good rhyme.
I do
Yeah,
actually love a
yeah.
good rhyme, but that's maybe not what I love most about the movie.
Sure.
Do you know the Guy Fawkes masks
Yeah.
existed before that?
Yeah.
But the pattern had been lost or whatever, so they remade them for this movie.
Huh.
And then in the more modern use of the Guy Fawkes masks with Anonymous, the pattern was still lost, so they used the ones from V for Vendetta.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
But also one of the great Roman numeral twists in cinema history.
Oh, I don't-
He's 5.
Oh,
He's number 5.
That's right.
Remember that? Yeah.
That's right.
I would even say one of the great number twists of any character
That is
system.
a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good. I love that movie. That movie is
Yeah.
fantastic. It's
Yeah.
on my list. It's
Is
a
that
little
right?
earlier. It's further
Mhm.
down the list, but awesome.
Mhm.
So good. And there was some discourse recently about V and the twist that happens midway through the film
What is that?
involving what is her name?
Natalie Portman?
Natalie Portman's character,
Mhm.
where she gets captured and goes to prison.
And it turned out that he was imprisoning her to give her
Yes.
the sense of what happened to him.
Wasn't gonna spoil it, but yeah, that.
This is a very old movie.
So, yeah, but it's so good.
It is
For
good.
anyone who hasn't seen it, but anyway.
I mean, I spoiled the 5 thing.
And they were like, "Oh, he's supposed to be a good guy, and he's really abusive, and he really abused her." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, he definitely abused her. He's not a good guy.
Yeah,
he's a vigilante
like he fights
who's
for
insane.
probably a good thing.
Yeah.
but not necessarily
But
a good
he's
way.
not supposed to be like a romantic lead.
No.
Yeah.
Although, is there any romance between
There is
them?
a little bit.
There
of
is a
romance.
little bit.
There's a little bit of
Yeah.
what is it called?
Stockholm syndrome.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you never
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they're actually falling in love.
That's
You know.
sometimes I wonder: is my wife just a victim of Stockholm syndrome, or
That's
is she?
true.
Yeah.
But she's the one that keeps you in handcuffs.
It's
So
true.
you've
It's
got it
true.
reversed.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I didn't even remember that as a particularly big twist, and that's
Oh.
why I didn't think twice about saying
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
about it. But I guess it is.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also the Margaret Thatcher in drag, or not drag, painted in some unusual way that just always stood out to me. That I think it's actually Stephen Fry is in that movie,
Yeah,
and he's a guy
he's the
who
one who makes Eggy in a basket.
probably yes,
Yeah.
he probably does, and I have no reason to disbelieve you about that.
There are certain food
Yeah.
scenes in
Yeah, yeah.
films that have not left my brain. Eggy
Mhm.
in a basket
Mhm.
is the scene he wakes up and makes her eggy in a basket for
Mhm.
breakfast, and it's basically a piece of fried toast
Uh-huh.
with a circle cut out.
Do remember
and
that?
an egg in the middle.
Oh, I do
And
remember
I've always
that.
been like, "What is that? I want to eat it."
It
And
looks
I've
good.
made it myself just
Not as-
because of that movie.
Was it good?
Also, the nachos in Death Proof, Tarantino's Death Proof.
I never saw Death Proof.
Yeah, I know.
But I do have a story about it. That was the movie that seemed to be from a drive-in, right? It was like kind of
Yes.
made like it was
Yep.
like a double feature.
Grindhouse.
Yeah. So I was running the projectors at that time,
Mhm.
and me and I think it was the general manager happened to be standing there when the movie was called a Brain Wrap. It caught in the feed out plate and burned on the screen.
Yeah.
We fixed it really fast, and I don't know that
That
the people
happens
watching
in the
it.
movie.
Right. I'm not sure. Or maybe you just saw this particular showing.
I've seen it on
And
DVD.
yeah. I don't know that they knew that something went wrong.
Oh, that's fine.
Because we did a really good job on it that time.
That literally happens in the
I
film.
do not doubt it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the kind of thing that would, right?
It's so it's actually really funny. There's a badass scene that's like, oh, this crescendo is happening
yeah.
to this big thing that's happening,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, missing reel, burn,
How
missing
about
reel,
that?
and then it cuts to after that scene.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really funny.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, I'll
anyway.
tell you. Oh man, we did it so well, and I always thought that was cool. But what were we talking about?
My next one
What do you got?
is Deadpool.
Oh,
The first
interesting.
Deadpool, which was
Interesting
a
choice.
delight.
Interesting
I-
choice.
I love Ryan Reynolds, and he was a perfect Deadpool. And I even love the story of how it got made and the fact
Yes.
that they did this
Mm-hmm.
tiny little mini scene movie or one scene film, and he leaked it to the internet.
Yes. Well, leaked. I mean, he put it on the internet.
He wasn't supposed to.
Oh, is that right?
Oh no, he was not allowed.
Oh, interesting.
He accidentally leaked it so that people would see it
Like
and clamor
Marilyn
for
Monroe's nude
that's
photography.
that's what.
Like Marilyn Monroe's nude photography.
Oh yeah.
I think that happened too.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's how Deadpool got made. Is
Yeah,
because they
interesting.
shot that, no one picked it up, they shelved it,
Yeah.
and then he was like, "Hey guys, check this out."
And I think it's also going back further in its generative process. I think he first started to think about that when a Deadpool comic mentioned how good Ryan Reynolds would be as
funny.
Deadpool because he breaks
Yeah.
the fourth wall. I think that is the case.
That's
I can't
cool.
say 100% for sure.
Robert Monroe says, "I made Eggy in a basket for the twins for breakfast all the time because of that movie."
Excellent.
Well done, Robert.
Excellent. Did you also teach them about the dangers of a fascist government?
I hope so.
That would be wise.
do you got?
Always wise. So, my next one, I was thinking about switching the order up, but I'm gonna stick with it because it's Deadpool. And but I also like the story behind the scene of him leaving his guns in the taxi.
Yes.
That they ran out of money to
Yeah.
have all those guns, so he's like, "Well, what if Deadpool just leaves his guns in the taxi?"
Yeah.
And another restriction breeding creativity
Yeah, I love
example.
that.
It's so good. And I'll tell you what, Deadpool is not a character that I'm all about.
No,
right? Not
I do
at
not
all.
care about Deadpool. I never
Not
have.
at all. In fact, earlier in my artistic appreciation life, I really could not stand it when characters broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me now, and in some
Yeah.
cases I like it, but I really didn't like it back then. And because it's like they're not in a story,
Mhm.
we're reading about their real lives,
Yeah,
you know. And so I never got into Deadpool, and he's just has very little, if anything, that is the kind of thing
Yeah.
that I would like. But that movie is so good and
Yeah.
so funny. Ryan Reynolds is so good
Yeah.
and so funny. And I still haven't gotten around to Deadpool 2.
Oh,
although
it's just as good.
I've heard, and I really want to watch it.
Highly recommend Deadpool
yeah?
2.
Okay,
it's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
And then Robert said, yes, of course.
Excellent.
About teaching his
about the
kids about-
fascism,
yeah.
I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
Against, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not for.
Here's what's great about the trains
pro-fascist.
being on
Yeah.
time.
My next one is The Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Just The Suicide Squad by James Gunn.
Is that the second one?
With, we got a kaiju up in this bitch.
Oh, it's a great movie.
So good.
Great movie.
In fact,
The
Starro.
kaiju being Starro, yes.
So good.
Really cool. That was, I didn't see the first one, but that second one, so artistically done
Yeah.
too.
The first
really
one is
cool.
garbage.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, but
But I also heard
the
there's a
second one's
cut, an unreleased
Yeah,
cut.
there's an Ayer cut.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I'd watch it, but I don't particularly care.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Also, it's not available.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's another reason.
True,
Okay. It also is the second Doctor Who main character actor to appear as a bald villain in a James Gunn movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who was the
Nebula
first one?
being the
Oh,
first
Nebula.
one. She
Nice.
plays the companion
Yep.
to his no, not to his Doctor Ever.
No.
But not far away from.
Mm.
Yeah.
To Matt Smith, right?
Matt Smith's.
Yeah, yeah.
But there is an overlap
Amy-
between Matt Smith's Amy Pond.
Amy Pond,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. What a great movie.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good one. What's your
yeah.
next one? Let's go.
Watchmen.
Oh, I've heard of him.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And they all watched people as men. You
Yep.
know? The men watched things.
Uh-huh.
And no, I thought it was great. I thought it was a really capable adaptation of that story. I
Yes.
did not care for the. Now, that being said, I like Watchmen.
Mhm.
I do not feel it is the definitive comic that many people feel that it is.
Sure.
Right? I think it's a good comic.
Yeah.
There are many, many comics I like more.
Sure.
You know, I never read the back matter if I ever reread that. Right?
Mhm.
I've read it. I don't
Yeah.
even really reread the Black Pearl stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I never, yeah.
I always liked the idea that Ozymandias was creating a trick on the world from something that didn't exist at all
Yeah.
and bringing people together. So I didn't like that they did away with that.
I understood the need for it.
Yeah. Or the
For
belief
modern
that audiences
audiences, yeah.
wouldn't. Because Hollywood is also littered with things that they thought
Yeah.
the audiences wouldn't
True.
understand. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe to add in the whole he's doing something somewhere scenes,
Yeah.
which were a very cool part of the comic. Like, what is
What is
this
he up to?
island,
Yeah.
right? I really liked that as an idea,
Mhm.
an intellectual idea, and they didn't do that, and they had Dr. Manhattan be the thing that he faked everyone out about, which is like, yeah, I mean, they maybe should be worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my problem with his original plan
Mm-hmm.
was especially with regards to the way that Zack Snyder rejiggered the plan.
Sure.
Way overthought.
Hmm.
Like for a guy who's that smart.
Yeah.
Way over, but also that does seem kind of like an Ozymandias kind of plan, right?
Right. Plans it all out. Yeah.
It's just over the top, ridiculous, almost too smart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I will counter the previous point you made about modern audiences not being okay with the squid.
Yeah.
Because just recently we got a sequel to the comic.
Yeah.
Which involves
The squid.
references the squid.
Yeah, which is kind of neat.
It was an awesome series, as I know you
Oh,
agree. So maybe they could have handled it.
Yeah.
You know, who knows?
Yeah.
We're also farther along in comics being more mainstream.
It's true.
So who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I thought that was a really artistically done version of Watchmen and very enjoyable.
I think it's good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it feels soulless to me.
Soulless.
It feels so slavish to its recreation of the graphic novel in some regards
Yeah.
that it loses some of the heart, some of the emotion behind the characters. But it's very expertly crafted.
Right. Many ways looks like a comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will never not laugh at the music cue, the record drop, the needle drop for when they have sex in the owl.
I don't
What is that
remember
thing
the
called?
music. The Owl Ship, I believe.
The owl ship.
Which I built one for the
Oh.
movie theater display.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
Built a
believe it
whole deal.
was Hallelujah.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Always funny.
I'll tell you what, Jackie Earle Haley
He
as
was
as
great.
Rorschach,
Yeah.
up there with
Perfect.
any of the this is the guy from the comic castings
absolutely.
that we've had.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I thought they did a good job with Dr. Manhattan as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was cast well.
Yeah.
My next one was V for Vendetta.
Oh, very
Did
good.
I already say that? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I already do that one on my side?
We talked about it.
Well, you talked about it because it was on your side.
That's right.
Anyway, next.
All right.
We already talked about it, so go ahead.
Now, the next couple, I don't know what order they would be in, so I'm just
Uh-huh.
going to mention them in the order that I wrote down.
Okay.
Zack Snyder's Justice League,
Oh, okay.
which I loved.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was really good, especially not necessarily being the DC universe that was happening at the time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is like an Elseworlds, in more so than a movie usually is.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I thought it was really well done. The earlier version I did not like that much, and I liked Flash's time travel stuff was really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Not so much the hot dogs, but yeah.
I never cared much for the idea that he needs to eat a lot to
I
maintain
love
his
that.
super speed.
But I just thought the whole hot dog scene, the slow motion hot dog scene while the
remember
crash
that.
is happening, he saves Iris
Oh,
Iris
that's right.
West.
That's right. Yeah,
And he
yeah.
stops to fucking. I think she crashes into a hot dog truck or some shit.
He eats some hot dogs. I do kind
Yeah.
of remember that.
Yeah. So dumb.
Yeah, and I thought the best part of the original movie is still in it, where Superman like notices the Flash
Oh,
moving.
that's the best.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
scene where his eyeballs move.
Just whoop.
Yeah. That's
Side-eye.
great. Yeah. And I liked its sort of episodic nature.
Yeah, I did like that it was a series.
Yeah.
And I really liked that it actually gave some time to Cyborg.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's supposed to be the, main heart of the original film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did well. I liked the addition of Martian Manhunter. Was cool, although not a particularly important story-wise.
He was supposed to be the Green Lantern.
Right.
Yeah.
DC said we're doing something with
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Which they are, but I wonder if it's the same thing that
Probably
they
not.
were
Not at
going
this
to be
point.
doing.
No.
No, because there was going to be that Green Lantern show.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Which sounded cool, but so does the thing coming up. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. I think
he's good.
Great.
I think he's the best part of the Snyderverse.
I could see
honestly.
that. Yeah. And I thought the Superman scenes were largely cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was one of my favorite
Yeah.
R-rated superhero
I remember
movies.
enjoying, like, after being said and done, like, was it four long episodes?
Something like that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
actually, I'm glad I watched that.
What was it? 6 hours total? Something.
Probably.
It was a
Yeah.
while. I like longer stories.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually liked when they did that with Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight.
Oh,
They
did
turned it into a 4-part Netflix series.
Did they?
From a movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it was
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
And they added a bunch of stuff in. All right. My number two and my number 3 and my number 1 are kind of the same as you.
Yeah.
Logan.
Oh, still haven't that.
Fucking love Logan.
I gotta watch that movie.
It's so good. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of heart. Everything about it is great. The action's great. The fact that it deals with the future of the X-Men.
That sounds cool.
Just highly recommend Logan if you haven't. Which
Okay.
you haven't.
I haven't,
Fucking see it.
and I've
man.
wanted
It's
to
great.
since that time. I forget what was happening when it came out
Yeah.
that I didn't watch it because it's way up my
So
alley.
good.
But yeah,
Next.
very good. Now the next one, the 300,
Oh,
which
more Zack Snyder.
yeah,
Holy shit.
and I thought, wow, that's 3 Zack Snyder. But how many other directors do R-rated superhero movies?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not very common.
that's his bread and butter.
Exactly. The 300 came out at a time when I had no idea who Zack Snyder was.
Yeah.
I still have not ever read the 300.
Oh, I read it.
and
Frank Miller.
yeah,
Mhm.
drawn on vellum, from what I hear.
Oh,
yeah.
no kidding.
Yeah,
Oh, that's neat.
which is pretty cool. By his wife, I believe.
Hmm.
They're frequent collaborators, and Frank Miller's wife.
Yeah.
And Lynn Varley,
Yes.
I think is her name.
Colorist.
Oh, is that right?
She's a
Okay.
color- she
Oh, right,
colored, like,
right.
Dark
Because he
Knight
does
Returns
the
and- yeah.
right, and I think is the name of one of the reporters in Dark Knight Returns.
No kidding.
I believe
Oh,
so.
that's fine.
One of the talking head
Yeah.
reporters. And I'll tell you what, the 300, when it came out, again, I was working at the movie theater, blew us away,
Mhm.
right? Like, in terms of unexpected attendance.
Right.
Where we were like,
Yeah.
what the hell is this? It's March, spring break, and this is going crazy. And that movie, man, the visuals,
Mhm.
I love an ancient Greek story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The guy doing the narration, such a great voice.
Oh, I
Very
don't
distinctive, very
remember.
cool voice. I think he plays Boromir in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
I think. But what a well shot
Mhm.
movie. Looking like a comic at sometimes when
Yeah.
that was not so common either.
Yeah.
You know, you saw like what seemed to be pages
Mhm.
on the screen acted out, and just so beautiful. And the story was great. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't so involved,
Yeah.
but it was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yes.
It was a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, visually stunning.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's whole thing, very, very
Yeah.
good.
And I remember I went into it. I think the Greeks won that war.
Yeah.
And I was, I think, studying ancient history at that time or around. You know, I'm interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
remember saying to a friend of mine who had seen it earlier, was like, "Oh, well, I know he wins, so I know how it turns out." And he's like, "Go ahead, watch the movie."
Yeah.
And he does not win. Like
No.
they hold it, but he dies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's well known in history, but I hadn't realized it. You know, because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the Greeks eventually win that confrontation. I could be wrong about that, to be honest. Interestingly enough, Xerxes, the Persian leader who is invading, is featured in the Jewish story of Purim as Ahasuerus, because for whatever reason, ancient rulers often had multiple names
Huh.
or were referred to by different names by different people. Maybe just like we call different countries.
Yeah.
We call it Roma, or they call it Roma, and we call it Rome. I don't know, but I didn't learn that till later, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting factoid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Crow.
Oh yeah, you love that.
Fucking love The Crow.
Yeah, right.
I love The Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw the movie, although I did see the TV show.
Oh no, I've never seen the TV show.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was on the Times. The Sci-Fi Channel used to have blocks every day of the week, and it would be like they would change up the show, but it was the same theme. It would be like Supernatural Mondays or like
that's fun.
Space Adventure Wednesdays or whatever it was, and The Crow would sometimes be a block that day. Yeah.
That's fun.
It was cool.
So it's worth checking out.
I don't know.
Okay.
I liked it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do you got? Number 2.
No, 300 was number 2.
Oh, number 1.
This is the number 1.
Number 1 spot.
Number 1, which is number 1 because I wrote it at that point in the
Nice.
list. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Oh, that I
the
was thinking
animated
about
film.
that. With Constantine.
With Constantine.
Ah.
Another one like
Matt
Suicide
Ryan.
Squad that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
Now,
that one I liked.
oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And what a way to end that animated continuity,
Mhm.
right? Similar to Suicide Squad, it's called Justice League Dark. And partway through the movie, I'm like, why is this called Justice League Dark?
Right.
You know? And by the end of the movie, I see why it was, but it
yes.
was very DC Universe
Yeah.
of a movie. And I'll tell you, there were a few of those animated movies in the continuity that were R-rated.
Mhm.
All of them that I've seen have been awesome, but this one stood ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This was just a phenomenal whole universe story telling an Elseworlds type things have gone very wrong apocalyptic tale, which they wouldn't normally do.
Right.
But they were ending this continuity,
Yep.
so they could do it. And I didn't know that was the case when I
No,
started
me
watching
neither. I was
it.
like,
Right?
what is
I'm like, how
happening?
is this going on?
Yeah.
Right? How are you doing this?
Yeah.
The cojones on you, you know, to craft this animated film. And it was great. And I also loved that Flashpoint Paradox, what started that universe, happened because Barry Allen, the Flash, ran back in time and changed something. And then it, you know,
Saved
much
us.
like in
We
the
all
comics,
know.
right?
Yeah.
And it picks up in this finale to the universe where they're like, you got to do that again.
Yeah.
Like, we've won, but it's not great.
It sucks.
You know, Martian
Yeah.
Manhunter is a cyborg
Yeah.
kind of guy, and a lot of stuff is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And how about you just try again?
Yeah.
And they do. And whether that leads into the movies that are happening now or not doesn't really matter. But
Yeah. But it certainly caps off that continuity.
exactly. And that's not something that a lot of
Never seen that
ongoing
done.
comic stories do. Or
I've
do.
never seen that done in animated.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. So yeah, I loved it.
All right.
Absolutely.
I just got a text from my wife. My son is sick.
Oh no.
Mine's Dread, number 1.
Good movie from what I hear.
It's awesome. Highly
Great.
recommend it. It should have a sequel.
Excellent.
It doesn't, which is sad.
Oh.
I gotta
Is
call
that
her ASAP.
Which one? The
Dredd, not
Carl
Judge
Urban?
Dredd. Carl Urban,
Carl Urban.
Judge Dredd.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, just Dredd.
Just Dredd.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a baller, good film.
All are good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, we gotta go. It's not. I mean, we've been here forever. So, thanks for hanging out with us. We will chat with you next week. Love you. Bye.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.